nonfiction book that I chose was Was Clara Barton by Stephanie Spinner, illustrated by David Groff. A little bit about the author Stephanie was she was born in Iowa and she grew up in New York. She always was reading, so she decided to take a publishing job so that she could get paid to read. She needed a break, so she decided to travel a lot, and then she came back to America to study painting. She painted for many years and then decided she needed another change. She took another publishing job, this time in children's books. She found that she liked children's books a lot, and before long she became an editor. Finally, she decided to start writing, which she loves the most because it gives her an open schedule. A little bit about the illustrator David he's a poet, writer, independent book editor, literary scout, and teacher. On his website, he does not talk much about his personal life, but only in his careers he does. He graduated from the University of Iowa, where he has also taught as well. He was an editor for 12 years, and for the last 11 years, he's worked with literary and popular novelists, memorists, journalists, and scientists. How I went about making my selection for the book was I was at Barnes & Noble, and I recognized the name Clara Barton because I did a project on her when I was in elementary school, so I decided to refresh my memory a little bit about Clara. This book gives many historical facts throughout the timeline, which helps readers better understand the era and decisions that Clara has made. So a little brief summary about the book. Her original name was Clarissa Harlow Barton. She was born in North Oxford, Massachusetts on December 25th of 1821. Her older siblings taught her everything that she needed to know, from reading to riding horses. She started teaching when she was 17, and it came very natural to her. The board heard about how amazing she was, and they offered her a full-time position. Since men usually made more than women back then, she was offered less, but only would take the job if she made as much as a man. She decided to teach for 10 years and eventually decided to build her own school. Later, she then opened a free school where she would teach without any pay. After the Civil War began, she provided soldiers with food, blankets, and eventually made her way to the front line to care for the wounded men. Eventually, she traveled to Switzerland, where the International Red Cross was brought to her attention. When she came back to the United States is when she introduced us to the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross is a nonprofit organization ran by volunteers, and donations providing medicine, shelter, food, and clothing to everybody in need. At 83, Clara helped set up an organization called the National First Aid Association. The 7 interesting things that I found after reading the book was that she predominantly was raised by her older siblings, which is pretty common back then, which I found out. She was determined to help others and make a difference in their lives that any way she could, which is a strong personality trait that she has coming from a nurse. How she experienced the pay difference between genders is pretty great. It's something that we don't experience today as much. She also experienced this assassination of the 3 presidents in her lifetime. Even though she used a lot of her money to help others, people had always thought that she stole the donations that were received. And I didn't know this, but the American Red Cross actually helps out other countries as well, not just in America. As she got older, she never wanted to slow down because she didn't want people to think that she didn't care about others. So a little bit about evaluating the text. Accuracy. The author of the book admires Clara, so she conducted her research, and it was very pleasurable. The category of nonfiction is factual. A lot of the information contained in the text can be found in other books and online. The structure is expository. It explains, informs, and describes. The organizational pattern is a sequence. The organizational tools that are used to conduct the sequences is the table of contents that is given at the beginning that outlines the order of information that will be given in order that the events do occur. The style, the title, and the descriptive language help engage the readers. It makes them wonder who really is Clara Barton. And in the graphics and visual features, the drawings help get a better image of a description, the historical facts, posters about the timeline that is being presented. A little bit about this is they do use the drawings to help us better understand Clara. then it also gives us a little bit more about history, including the child labor in Clara's time. And then they also include news articles throughout the time as well, such as Lincoln's assassination and then a missing soldiers poster. So the text enhanced my understanding of the topic by not only giving me a better understanding of what Clara accomplished, but also a little history lesson as well. The use of pictures gives me a better idea of what I was reading and the time that the events had happened. The age group that I think that this book would be most appropriate for would be ages 10 and 11, so about 5th grade. It will still keep their interest by the images presented, but might be a little too advanced for them. There are some tough words that would be harder for someone in 4th grade to read and possibly understand. When I first learned about Clara, I was in 6th grade, and the books that I was choosing at that time were a little more advanced in this text, so I think that's why 5th grade would be a good age. I would recommend this book to others because I think it would be a quick little history lesson for someone. Not only would they learn about Clara Barton, but they would also learn about the Civil War and how child labor laws and women's rights have changed a lot today.